Welcome to my podcast. A show recorded from a room that hasn't changed since America had a different president, maybe to 70 years inside. That's not a lifestyle. That's a subscription plan. You forgot the channel, cancel. Some people call it isolation. We call it free shipping on every emission. And now broadcasting live from a desk. That has some things more instant noodles that human interaction. I've been going back to and forth on the show name too, thinking about whether to say it samurai or something, but I don't wanna the word Japan since it sounds too much like an education show. The show's strength is something I wanna reflect in the name, but it's hard to keep it simple enough. In the morning, I was looking into various apps and I got so focused that I forgot what I was even doing. Ended up recording this instead of the English episode. At night, I was thinking about Spanish vs Portuguese again. My personality is just like that, but honestly, there's no need to add more language. The whole point is to communicate using simple words, and that's been a goal from the start. Thinking keeps changing and improving, which is the problem. I tend to feel easy when I only have a way of doing something, so I look into other options. Things weren't going well for a while. Then they worked out, and right at the moment I realized I didn't even need a new method. That's my usual pattern. I did the same thing 5 or 6 times, but timing every time. I recorded an English episode today for the first time in a while. Everything I failed at had never been something I was truly forcing, so there's a deeper reason behind being careful, and I try not to repeat mistakes. Why do I make this podcast? The answer might not be what you'd expect. It's just that I wanna help episode even a little. The reason I've been able to keep going is because I understand and how people with depression, people who are shouting, and people with some condition feel that feeling of wanting to help someone is what kept me going. Lately, the worry about the future had been really strong. It's been there for over 15 years. Trying to ignore it doesn't help, but thinking about it too much isn't good either. I don't feel like I'll be alive in the world 10 years from now, so there's not much point in worrying about it. It has that feeling even as a kid. The most likely reason I feel that way is something like another major world event happening that completely changed everything. My whole way of living and thinking is carefully built up in a small imbalance through everything else. But that's also why I can pay attention to each small thing. Being a shut-in means having to build your own structure just to get through the day. Every moment has a reason behind it. There's a constant tension into it. When that tension wasn't there, it was during the worst period of my OCD. Building that structure in the daily life was what kept those doubts from taking over. The worry about the future isn't something I'm just sitting with. It comes up to no matter what I'm doing. People naturally try to find balance. For example, someone who drink might decide they never smoke, or someone who's really hard on a friend might draw a red line at never cutting them off completely. That's how people use their energy. For me, I decide I've give up on work, but not give up on living. Getting a diagnosis of living difference already felt like giving up. I tried other things after that, but that came with real risk. Trying to do two things at once means neither get done well. When you focus on one thing, you have to let go of others. The idea that I wanna work, but I can survive a little hardship. That's exactly the kind of thinking that doesn't work. Work and life aren't separate things in that way. Listening to a podcast recently, someone said the motorcycle gang came by and was making a noise while they were in an online meeting with the mic on, and they yelled out loud. And apparently everyone could hear. I thought, wow, that happened to other people too. Someone else speaking up loudly about noise from neighbors. That was actually nice to hear. My parents heard a new Nogizaka song I liked and said part before the chorus was a bit off. But this person apparently listened without knowing where the chorus is. And that was surprising. Also, someone I used to listen to one podcast was talking really openly. The point where I doubt, is this okay? I was a little jealous because they were saying things I wouldn't be able to say. Things like teachers are a waste of tax money. Just show student videos of good teachers. That's actually one of the writer things. Region readers being either crazy or just going along with things. That's still on the writer end too. When I watch idols, one thing I notice across different groups is that some people try not stand out by doing something different. I could tell right away when someone is just trying to get attention by being different, because I think that's exactly what should be avoided. Doing something you actually like is better. Even young kids can figure out that if they do something slightly different, they'll get praised. It's a really basic way of thinking. This made me think about bad example and explanation, like using a completely unrelated comparison, or using an example that actually overlaps with that you are explaining, which makes everything confusing. I've seen people do that a lot. When I record this show, I'm always careful not to say something that doesn't make sense. I was looking at whether people in Italy have high rate of depression. I'd heard that about Germany. Apparently, Italy does too, which surprised me. They seem like a warm, happy country. Cold regions tend to have more depression, but warm regions aren't completely free from it either. Pro restaurants also seem like the last people you'd expect to get a depression, but apparently strength training can actually contribute to it. Being in an individual sport, dealing with constant pain and pressure, those all make sense. The worry about what comes after their career is understandable to celebrity. Celebrity also seem to have a high rate of depression and many turn to religion, recording late at night, waking up and already thinking, how did things end up like this? There are moments when I think maybe if I'd done things differently as a student, I wouldn't have become a shut-in, but maybe it was just meant to be. Lately, I've been feeling a bit down. My neck was hurting yesterday. I hope it's not a sign of the illness getting worse. It could also be a hormone imbalance or something related to metabolism. It's 1 a.m. and I've been looking things up again. Some people say that if God exists, there would be no hunger and poverty. So God doesn't exist. But I don't get that. Hunger is a human concept. It's just human seeing a situation as bad. If God is defined as something absolute and beyond human ideas, they think if God exists, there'd be no sickness. Doesn't make sense. Sickness is a human concept too. It's a very basic way of thinking about it. Also, I came across an article about the debate over effort, whether working hard leads to result. I find this debate kind of pointless. The definition of effort is too unclear to even discuss properly. In Japan, effort often just means pushing through with willpower. Dozens of people study hard, for example. Some pass, some doesn't. The obvious saying effort doesn't always pay off. It's just observing the obvious. The more important question is what effort even means and what counts as success. Because people can interpret those however they want. You can't conclude that effort always leads to everything you want. But you can also reach that conclusion if you define this a certain way. The whole debate is just unclear from the start.